Hi, everyone. Hello, and welcome to today's live. Um, for those of you, oops, um, yeah. So usually we go live on Mondays at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, but today we decided to switch it to Tuesday in honor of World Mental Health Day. I figured why not have this actual discussion on World Mental Health Day. So thank you all to everyone who is joining us right now. Um, Thank you so much. I know there's so many things you could be doing on a Tuesday evening, but you decided to spend your time with us. So we're just going to get to it, and people are going to join gradually, I'm assuming. So today's title is Mental Health in the Black Community. Let's talk about it. What is that? Jeez. Let's talk about it. Mental health in the Black community.
All right. So today's World National Mental Health Day, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Please like the video as you're joining in. There's only a few people in, but we're gonna get started. So when we replay, it's not too much talking in the beginning. But yeah, and then to tell us why this is an important topic. I know you have some at least more work experience with this, and why we decided to choose this topic for today.
I just think in general, mental health has been something that has been a topic of discussion um, more than ever since the pandemic in 2020. I think it made a lot of people have to look inward and realize that they are actually dealing with a lot of uncomfortable feelings, maybe anxiety. And let's talk about some signs that you might have. Okay, we're not here to diagnose or
The
give
tree.
medical advice or treat, right? So you always have to put that disclaimer. But it's interesting, like the more this year's it's the first year I got into mental health,
Oh
and
yeah, in both
of course,
positions.
yeah, immediately like I fell in love. I really, really like mental health, and a lot
But
of
you thought you
people,
wouldn't like it. You thought you would be
a lot of
scared.
people, like my mom, my cousins, they're also mental health RNs, and they've been telling me like try it, try it, try it. And again, due to the stigma, which we're going to talk about later in this video, I was scared because I thought, oh my gosh, I had a rotation in nursing school at the VA, and it was kind of scary. Like there'll be like people talking to themselves, people in isolated rooms, people having episodes, and that really made me nervous to enter
Rubbed
the
you the wrong way.
right, rubbed me the wrong way. I was uncomfortable. I was scared. It made me nervous about entering the field of mental health. But this year I said, okay, let me give it a try, and I really, really ended up liking it. Even at my a other job, just learning about the different medications and the different disease states, I just find it so fascinating. So I think this topic really, really is dear to my heart because I feel as if I could speak from both perspectives, right? I could speak about the stigma with mental health as a Black female in general and also as an African female. I could talk about both. And I think that, I know we are all one, but I think there's the beauty, I think, of being first gen is that you can see things from both sides. You could see things from both angles, or like, my mom won't be able to see, or maybe someone who doesn't have my background wouldn't be able to see. So I think that's also why I find the topic of mental health so, 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 so fascinating. So let's talk about some signs that you might be dealing with in a mental health disorder.
Well,
A
first,
big
let's start off with the background of mental health.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so according to the U.S. Census, 13.4% of the U.S. identifies as African American, Black African American, and of those, 16% are reported to be living with a mental illness. All right, and it's interesting the reporting part. You have to emphasize the reporting because, as we know, because of the stigma and while we're having this conversation, there are people who are living with mental illness who are not being treated for it. They're going to live their whole lives never getting the care and the attention they need because of that stigma associated with it. All right, so that's I think that's important to point out. Um, Okay. Black and African American people living below poverty are twice as likely to report serious psychological distress than those living two times over the poverty level. So there is a correlation with social economics with economics. So like we always talk about that intersection that it's so hard to talk about a lot of important topics without bringing in money into it, because it does play a role, because it affects probably your treatment. Can you afford, right, to see a private practitioner? A lot of these doctors don't take insurance. Like, are you going to be overrun by some? It's a lot that goes in with the billing and all this stuff. Okay, blacks and African Americans are less likely than Caucasians to pass from suicide at all ages. However, black and African American teenagers are more likely to attempt it than white teenagers. And that's 9.8% versus 6% of white teenagers. Okay, then according to SAMHSA's 2018 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, um, serious mental illnesses rose among all ages of Black and African American people between 2008 and 2018. So the most recent reports from 2018, so there was an increase. And despite rates being less than the overall US population, major depressive episodes increased from 9 to 10.3% in Black and African Americans aged 12 to 17. And then it increased in all age groups, and it's just listing the amount of the increase. Last, I think this is an important point. Lastly, binge drinking, smoking (parentheses cigarettes and marijuana), illicit drug use, and prescription pain reliever misuse are more frequent among Black and African American adults with mental illnesses.
Okay, and also I saw something about Black women.
Being yes,
Some weird
mhm.
statistic about
Women
Black.
are the heads of households in roughly 30% of Black or African American homes, compared to 9% of white homes. And that and some of the research is showing why that could contribute to why there's more of depression, anxiety, or mental health issues, because of that extra added burden that is usually seen in Black families.
Saying 30% of Black women are the breadwinners in
Heads of household,
head of
women
house.
are and women are the heads of households in roughly 30% of Black and African American homes, compared to 9% of white women
Wow,
in their homes.
that's really significant. 30%. So almost 1 in 3 Black women is the head of her household.
No, yeah, almost 1 in 3. Yeah, 33%.
Yeah, thank you for sharing the information first. I guess we have some background to work with. So, one of the studies you mentioned was 2018. So imagine now after the pandemic, right? If in
Right,
2018 there was a
loneliness. Woo!
rise, so imagine now in 2023. So with that
Right.
said, I really wanted to talk about the stigma that's associated with mental health, specifically in the Black community. I think personally, from my experiences, from the people I've met, from even my personal experiences, that mental health is poorly understood. And I think that sometimes when people are experiencing a mental health crisis, a mental health issue, it can be a spiritual component that is targeted to. It can be, oh, like they, a lot of people are scared of being viewed as weak, being
Mhm.
vulnerable. I can't handle it. I can't take this. Strong people make it. Strong people go take anything. That mentality that you're just supposed to endure. I think it's something big in the Black community, like just endure, like pray, fast.
African community.
In the African community, Black community in general, I see this common trend, and I think all of that is true because I identify as a Christian. I believe in God. I pray. I read my Bible, but we can walk and chew gum, right? It doesn't have to be an either or.
Either or,
Right?
right?
You can also, then I think a big what I've started to notice, especially in the African church, and I go to Black African American church, there's a big emphasis these days on mental health, which I like hearing more about, because who would have thought that you'd be hearing about pastors preaching about depression and preaching about those type of sensitive issues that a lot of people probably didn't really feel comfortable with. So I think the more that we have people talking about it, I think the more that a big factor in like some research I was doing as well is that there's just not a lot of providers that are of color. So when
Mhm.
a lot of African Americans are, I don't know which term the politically correct term, but a lot of
Black African American or
yes, Black people are going to look for a provider like a therapist. A lot of them may delay getting the care they need because they can't find a provider who looks like them. There's a distrust of the health system dated back to Tuskegee, what happened. So there's just so many factors, if you really want to be honest, that impacts mental health in the Black community. However, I think before you can get help, you have to be able to acknowledge that you have an issue. So
Yep.
I think there's a big factor of us sometimes being in denial. And
Mhm.
I've been here. I think a lot of people are here, and a lot of people think that to have something or be going through a moment is like I have to be running around naked, right? Or I have
The extreme of it.
right, or I have to end up in the hospital, or I have to almost be at the point where I'm going to take my life. That's an extreme end of a mental health situation, right? But this I was talking about earlier before Ngozi gives the background information. There are signs that we can look out for to be able to tell something isn't right. The biggest sign of depression is insomnia,
Sleep problems,
sleep issues. It could be early morning awakening, which means that
insomnia.
yeah, it's sleep problems. So insomnia, unable to fall asleep, or you sleep only for a few hours and you're waking up early in the morning, or it can be hypersomnia when you're just sleeping too much. And because insomnia, if you look it up, ask any healthcare provider, is one of the biggest complaints.
Ooh, I'm
that
struggling
people
up
come to.
this week, last week. Oh my
Because
god.
insomnia doesn't have to be just mental health, obviously. It can be hormones, it can be stress, it can be, medication you're taking, it can be just
Lifestyle changes, environmental changes,
alcohol is
seasonal
not good for
changes.
sleep, right? Working out too late at night affects makes some people not be able to sleep,
Yeah,
right? So just I think that if we're more knowledgeable about things to look out for that show that maybe we need help or there's something wrong. Again, I said sleep issues. We're going to talk about changing your eating pattern. So you've lost appetite or you notice yourself eating too much.
appetite.
There's also just I don't know if anyone relates to this, especially as a woman, it's hard because some of these things just happen around certain cycles that we're in. So it's kind of hard sometimes to identify, but just it's really emotional for no reason. Maybe you just cry out of nowhere, you just start crying. You don't even know why you're crying. You get what I'm saying? Like you're just really, really sad. You purposely are trying to isolate yourself. It's not like not purposely, not necessarily purposely, but you find yourself wanting to isolate yourself. And you're not an introvert. You're not
You're
someone
not an introvert. You're not someone who's always by themselves or
by themselves,
isolated.
right? But you notice these days you don't want to be around people. You don't want to leave your house unless you have to. Like there's so many things that also low vitamin D, really a big issue in the Black community because of the we know our skin is darker, harder to absorb vitamin D from the sun. So also put into consideration with a lot of people working from home now, you're sitting in an apartment or a house all day. Where are you getting sunlight exposure? And then vitamin D is anyone that's close to me always know I'm asking about vitamin D. But vitamin D also the issue is that it's not a test that's done standard. It's not a standard test when you go to your
I
doctor.
gotta pay for it when I get vitamin D levels
You have
checked.
to ask for it. So a
Oh,
lot of doctors
and
don't
insurance doesn't usually cover it.
yeah, but it's usually not too expensive. If you have decent
$10.
insurance, $10, yeah, it's worth it. If that's one test, I would advise everyone when they go to the doctor. You just feeling down, very tired, sleep issues. Ask them to check your vitamin D, and you'll be shocked that most likely it might even be really critically low. So there's just so many things when I think about like things that we can look out for to make sure that we're doing okay. Also, it's very important that you just check in with people.
I'm about to say that check up on people.
Yeah,
Community is so important.
even
Sometimes
your strong friends, even your friends that you feel as if have their life together, you'll be shocked with about what some of them are really dealing with. So I'll turn it over to Ngozi. I want to say, like, what would you have to say about mental health in the Black community in general, and why do you feel as if? What are some reasons you feel as if we're having this issue?
To be honest, I feel like growing up, a lot of the conversation around mental health is targeted as like a white people's problem. Like
Mm,
it's not something that you really think of as Black people that like we really experience, and it's not until you get older, you have your personal experience, you have people close to you experience stuff, you realize that it doesn't discriminate, and maybe the way we go about treating it or the way we go about talking about it is different. Because I can speak from my professional experience working somewhere like in a pharmacy. An antidepressant is like an average person's prescription. Like
mm,
it's not like a like the way, and it's like if I didn't have that background, I would think like, oh my god, an antidepressant. I don't want to take that. Like that's what crazy people take. But like I'm telling you, it's on the level of like
birth
hypertension
control.
medication and diabetes medication, like birth control. It's like a part of like the normal cocktail of like the average American. And I think lifestyle is a big factor. Despite
America's lifestyle is it almost setting us up to be depressed.
yes, like it's very isolated. People are by yourselves. People are very stressed. The not the food, the actual environment, lack of sunlight. Like I just feel as if like there's a lot of like we've made it almost like a norm, and there's levels of you have to talk about things when people refer to mental illness too. I feel like at least I used to think like it was like just extreme stuff, like someone who is schizophrenic or
Mhm.
someone who is like psychotic or some have like. But depression is a mental illness, anxiety is a mental illness. Um, people who are bipolar have mental illness. Like a lot of people have or experience depression, but a lot of so when you think of it, a lot of people can be classified as having or have had a mental illness. But I feel as if the way it's taught to us, when you think of mental illness, you just think of like the extreme cases or like a very serious, not extreme, but a very serious condition. When like anxiety alone, I've struggled with anxiety. That's a mental illness. You know what I mean? Like that's not like it's not something like so like it has to be like so serious for you to think like, oh, that's mental illness. So I think that the language you use is important. And I think that the language alone sometimes can form the stigma because people don't want to label themselves a certain type of way. No one wants to say I have a mental illness. Somebody wants to say I've struggled with mental illness. Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't just come off. It's some people are just not comfortable labeling themselves like that, and I understand even on a spiritual aspect, there's
Mhm.
people, some pastors will say don't claim that, don't claim depression. I understand where they're coming from. We talk about Proverbs 18:21 and this power and the power of life is in the tongue. And like when you say something, you're proclaiming it, you're accepting it. And like we said, there's a fine line, right? Between you saying like denying that something is wrong versus you just like what I mean, like not even wanting to acknowledge it. Like you have to find that balance. So I think there's a lot of progress I think that's been made even in the last few years. The attorney general, who was it? The attorney general had what he said the biggest was it loneliness that he
Yeah,
claimed was
I was gonna transition this to dating, mental health,
yeah
like
yeah
mental health in the Black community, and have we ever sat down to think that maybe that has effect on all parts of our life, right? It's not just maybe obviously we know if you're dealing with an illness, it will affect your work, it will affect your family, it can affect your health. But then how about even when it comes to just relationships, right? Like some platonic relationships, intimate relationships. If you are dealing with someone who can't communicate what they're going through, or can't communicate what they need, or can't
or
communicate.
and communicate it, but they're afraid of being judged or they're afraid of how you're going to respond. It's difficult. I won't even lie because imagine you meet a guy right now. We always got to bring dating right now, and you guys are talking. And he confides in you. It's like, yeah, like I'm depressed right now, or like he tells you like I have diagnosed bipolar. Like you can't tell me you're gonna look at them the same. As much as you want to sound empathetic and you want to sound understanding, you want to sound so like no, you're gonna look at them differently.
But
Like
I don't think something like your health is something. This is sensitive information, so I don't think anyone is expecting some to meet a guy the first date or the first couple of
it's not the
dates.
first day, but eventually, if you guys are getting serious, you start noticing certain things. That's something someone's gonna have to share with you if they're currently going through it.
Do you
You know?
remember Insecure when that was the case with the light skinned guy?
Oh
Do you
yeah,
remember when he just like ghosted
true,
someone?
true.
No, not Drew. The other one with the light eyes. Drew was like the tall, like
Oh yeah, the one Issa used to talk to. What's his name? He was the barber at the end.
he had the barber, and he just ghosted.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
And
really.
maybe that's some of the reason why some of these guys are roasting because maybe people are going through stuff and it's not that simple just to tell people. Like you don't think they're going to understand. You have to start going into all your your history. It's awkward. I understand. Like it's not something you have to really trust somebody before you disclose that type of information with them.
Yeah, I think that makes
Hi
sense.
Mia and I first I'm catching up. Great. Hope you're enjoying. Please everyone like this video. I know we're being a little serious today.
Right? It's like such a serious topic compared to.
People want to hear the rah rah rah, but we'll get there. But we just want to bring awareness to World National Mental Health Day, and then you talked about the signs, right? So what is besides the sleeping, the eat appetite? What are some other signs that people can look out for?
We talk about sleeping, your eating changes, uh, eating pattern changes, just mood. Like your mood is normal to feel sad some days, right? That doesn't necessarily mean you're depressed. It's normal to feel down, doesn't necessarily mean you're depressed, but it's not normal to be crying every day. To be honest, like that's not. I'm not saying it's terrible, but I wouldn't classify that as normal behavior. You know what I mean? If you're literally crying every day of the week, that might be a sign that something's going on, right? Or just we talked about isolating yourself, withdrawal, notice that you're drinking way more than usual. You're using, even if you do some illegal substances, you're doing it way more than usual. Like you're doing it every day. You need to drink every day to go to sleep. That's not really normal. Obviously that could indicate a substance abuse disorder, but a lot of times substance abuse disorder does go along with mental health disorders. They're usually very, very linked. And I just realized that, my experience right now, I work with teenagers, and it's just been so informative for me because when you, as a person that's working with teenagers, and you start to realize why they end up where they are, a lot of times, and it makes sense, they're young, they just really don't have the coping mechanisms to deal with a lot of life issues. They're young, someone, a parent, they've gone through loss, sexual identity issues, foster homes, a lot of serious things that they're dealing with at such a young age, and they don't know how to cope.
Right.
So I think that also us developing coping mechanisms is so important because we know life is always going to be life in. Like the older we get, like, it comes to a point. I think about it sometimes. Being my age, I'm going to start dealing with like death a lot,
Mm.
right? Like, we say God forbid, we don't. I'm not claiming it over my life, but at this age, you start getting older. These are things that are going to be happening more and more. So it's like, how am I? Do I have a plan of how I'm going to deal with this? You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I'm not going to sit around writing a thesis about it now because I don't plan for that to happen to anyone close to my life now. But it's reality. So yes, everyone, please like the video. So I wanted to talk about specifically, um, like my experience. I guess because this will make it a little bit juicy. Just because I've had therapy like for a while. Like I feel like therapy got really, really popular like around pandemic. I guess the pandemic, but like I've been on and off with therapy for like years.
I'm hearing some flashback from your audio. Is that some?
You still hear it?
Yeah, I don't know if that's your outside or if that's just.
No, I don't hear anything. So I personally, I would recommend therapy for Black girls. For anyone that's looking for a therapist, they have a website that you can go on, and she really has a directory, different insurance. You could filter by insurance company. I think I hear the song that you're talking about. It's not me though. It sounds like it's like a shh.
Mm-hmm. Can y'all hear it? Anyone put in the comments? Can you hear like the background noise? Like a. Let me mute.
Yeah, now that you're muted, I don't hear it.
I don't hear it anymore. I unmuted. I don't hear it. You can continue.
So I would recommend going to therapy for Black girls, and they have a directory. You could filter by like insurance. I believe you can filter by state, and it's a really easy way to find a therapist. I feel like that's really been a good way. But what I can say personally is that going to therapy taught me a lot of things I had to learn, and I feel as if a lot of my upbringing. Not saying that it's necessarily bad, but a lot of things that I was taught to believe, or a lot of things I was taught that maybe is the only way or the right way, I had to teach myself that that's not necessarily true. That is just one way, or it's just one frame of thought. Like, you know what I mean? It's just one perspective. You know,
Right.
it's not the end all be all. Because I deviated from that, it doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't make me any less than. It doesn't make me less worthy of love. It doesn't make me, less desirable. But when you put these rigid stuff in your mind and in your brain, you're like, okay, this is that. There's no other way. It can make it complicated when life shows you something else, and you didn't get what you expected, or things didn't go as you planned, and then you're just like, okay, where do I go from now? Like maybe, imposter syndrome starts coming in, or you start feeling just down on yourself, or guilt. I think shame is a big one, and I think specifically the culture that I come from, specifically, there is a lot of shame. I'm not gonna lie.
for women. Like I feel like there's a lot of you see that thing I had to re-edit and recirculate. Is like when you think about like the training, like the upbringing, like the values. A lot of it is shaming women into doing things a certain type of way or feeling a certain or behaving a certain type of way, you know. And it's just like you don't think those things affect you, but until you get older, you realize like it does. It definitely does. Like why you think the way you think, maybe the standards you're putting yourself to, the way you even view other people. That could even cause you to become very judgmental, very like, you know, just not really realistic. Like, and I think that's a big one as human beings. You just can't be hard on yourself. Like I've been a long time ago and I
Yeah, and a book I would definitely recommend, Self Compassion by Kristen Neff. That book was really like a game changer for me. And it's interesting because it was recommended by the author of Therapy for Black Girls. And she always brings that up. Self Compassion, Kristen
Brené
Neff,
Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection.
Gifts of Imperfection, Boundaries by Henry Cloud. Those are like two books, like three books that she was always talking about. It took me so long to read them. And when I read each of them, I was like, why didn't I read this earlier? Why didn't I read? And self-compassion doesn't mean that you're not holding yourself to a standard, right? Self-compassion doesn't mean that you just let yourself do whatever you want. It just being kinder to yourself, like realizing that you're human, that you're gonna make mistakes and life goes on. So Mia's here, Mia keeps it juicy. So Mia said, I just wish that people especially would go to therapy and heal their trauma before they have kids. How about before they even date? To be honest, should people really be even dating? Should we be out here on these apps? Should we be out here?
And remember, like you say, you're never 100% healed. So we
Yeah,
don't want to get to extreme. You're never but you could definitely be in a better place. There is a point in your life. I can speak personally. I see people going through it. There is a point in your life where I personally believe you don't need to be worried about being in any type of intimate relationship. You need to be focusing on yourself. Like you need to be like whether it's not even necessarily financial wise. That's not even really the one. That can be a reason, but I'm not even really talking about finance. I'm talking about like where you have a lot of self work. I'm very big on self development. Those are like really like the bulk of the books I read are self development books. I'm very big on being a better you, and I think that sometimes people in this day and age when everything is about man, woman, date. You go on TikTok, everything is date. You go on everything date, married man. I think people can kind of forget like the importance of just personal development because you want this end result, right? You want it with this person, but you don't want it with this person who has not done any work. You don't want it with this person who has all this unresolved trauma, who has bad habits, who is just not there yet. You know what I mean? So it's like
not vulnerable.
yes, who's not vulnerable, who's not empathetic, who is not emotionally unavailable. You want those things. I think specifically for men and black men, because we're talking about mental health in black community. Men, period, don't go to therapy as much as women. Period, irrespective of race.
Right.
Period. Period. So imagine when we talk about black men, and I could say I even had experience earlier today. My sister know, my cousin know. I've been having a lot of experiences this year, and I think a big part of it that I've realized is that age does not equate experience. It doesn't equate maturity. It doesn't equate like readiness. I feel like a lot of people you just can't assume because someone is older that they've done that work, that they've taken the time to do that work. No,
You don't
I've
think it's
worked.
more likely though?
What?
You don't think it's more likely that like a 40-year-old has done the work versus a 30-year-old?
Maybe a woman, yeah, but not with a man. No, I feel like I'm telling you, I'm telling you, listen to me when I speak from my personal experience. I say all the time, this is not to trigger anyone. We always have to bring it into dating. As we talk about in our previous videos, say it all the time. I don't believe a lot of people throw in a lot of things as being red flags, right? Because everything, oh, this is a red flag. You like the color purple, it's a red flag. You like this, it's a red flag, red flag. But I can speak from my personal experience. When I meet a guy at a certain age, a black guy at a certain age who has never been married and never been married and claims they want marriage, and I talk to them even for a few days, I see it. I understand why. They don't see it because they're used to themselves and it's hard. Like we talk relationships.
Can we say that about women as well? You
Listen,
wouldn't.
listen, listen. I'm gonna get to that. Relationships is like a mirror. There's very few things people talk about which are true. That's different. I don't have kids yet, but an intimate relationship will teach you so much about yourself because you have someone literally mirroring you and tell, like, your friends, yeah, they could be honest with you, but it's to an extent. People are sensitive. You can't really tell people the truth anymore. You can't really go in, but your partner will really give it to you. And I'm telling you, a lot of these guys have not done the work. They have not done the work, and they think that because they have these good jobs, they have their own house, they have a nice car, they look good on paper. Yes, but when you go into the inside and you look at their mindset and their emotional state, they haven't done the work. They have not done the work. They haven't done it, and it's very important.
Yes, said parents, but how can you convince men that they need therapy? It seems women are more open to it versus men.
Yes, women are definitely more open.
But you said some people still haven't healed from childhood traumas. That's real. Miss Murmur said, "Hey y'all, hi. Don't ignore the red flags. But if a person is 30 and up, they should know when to get help versus someone in their 20s. They may not recognize
I
it."
get it. Maybe if there's Gen 2, we say this, talk about this all the time. We're speaking of we're a different generation. We're raised differently. We're born here. You know what I mean? Like, especially when we talk about people who are foreign, people who didn't necessarily weren't raised in America. Maybe they came here at 20, 25, 30. They still have that culture embedded in them. So the things that you may think are so like, oh, well, you're 30 plus, and I agree with you, it's not that simple for them. They're never going to, even 60-year-old people are never going to get that help. They're never going to go to therapy. Then they look at that like, what the hell? I have God. What are my therapists going to tell me? They'll run to their pastor though, who is a lot of times not a qualified therapist, and they'll use their pastor as a therapist. And the pastor has their own issue. They have everyone's issues on top of them that they're dealing with. But like they just have that stigma with therapy and going for help and going to a stranger to tell your problems. Like they just feel like it's weird.
I love, to be honest, I love talking to a
It's the
stranger.
best because they didn't judgment. I don't want my pastor knowing all my business. I don't want my pastor knowing me and my all my like. I don't. I know. I'd rather go to a person who is neutral. They don't know me from anywhere. I don't know them from anywhere. Whatever I tell them, they look at it from a They're not bringing no culture into it. They're not bringing all this religiosity, hyper religiosity. They just speaking, whatever. But what I'm saying me is that a lot of people, they just, some people even be offended that you tell them to go get therapy. I'm telling you, they would even,
That's the way you say it, right? Don't curse a guy out and be like, "Yeah, you know what? You need to get therapy." Like that's not how you do it. That's you're insulting him at that point. You're not recommending it in a passionate and a really way to help. You're using it. Some people do use it as an
like
impulse.
honestly, I think I'm not trying to be offensive. You know what I mean? I really care about you, but I really think you should consider getting some help. You know what I mean? Like talk about your personal experiences, what therapy has helped you with, and not make. I get it because if you tell someone you're crazy, that's the word we don't want to use, and that's the word that is associated with mental health a lot, especially in the Black community. You're gonna push them even more away from it. Miss Mermaid, people are in their 40s still meant. Girl, I'm telling you, this age thing. By age 30, most men and women are stuck in their ways. Lil Ernest, Lil Ernest always drop the gems. So it's like he knows what happened to me within the last. Lil Ernest always comes in with the facts. Listen, and Lil Ernest, you a man, but you have to confirm men especially. I had my one guy friend, I literally told him at the end, he agreed with me. I told him, yes, I do believe as human beings, the older we get, we're more used to doing things a certain type of way. Change is harder. Change is not easy, period. But of course, the older you get, the harder it is to change. But what I've noticed from my fellow women is that irrespective of age, if a woman meets a guy she really likes, we always have to tie this in. If a woman meets a guy she really likes, she will still be willing to change and accommodate him versus a man changing and accommodating a woman. I'm telling you, the older a lot of guys get, they're not changing. How you see them is how you're gonna take them. Whatever you don't like, don't just be willing to take that for what it is. It's not changing. So it's hard because, like you said, it's what it was the saying. You can't teach a new dog old tricks. You know what I mean? Like it's like how do you unlearn people? You meet someone who's 45 years old and they've been living life this way for how many years, and you're going to tell them now, oh, stop eating this. This is high cholesterol. Stop doing this. Or you need to start working out. Someone who's never lifted a muscle before. Like these things are not. We come on now. Like we can't simplify. It's not easy. It's not easy. And I think that that's the big thing at a certain age, like your brain, everything, development, it's just harder to make changes. Like it really, it's not to say it's an excuse because you can always change.
But listen, the number one thing is that someone changed because they want to change.
Thank you. It's not because of you. It's not because of how much they love you or don't love you. It's not because you're such a great person. There's what is it called, a readiness scale they have for change. I think it's like a 1 to 7. I learned about this in school. Changing is a personal commitment. There are things in life that can push someone to change. Yes, someone can have a health scare. Someone can have something, you know what I mean? Some they see someone they love, experience something, and they learn from them. Like, nah, this is not about to be my life. What's that bodybuilder, female bodybuilder, Ernestine? I can't remember her last name. From my understanding, she started working out like in her 50s. And she's like 80 something now. You see how ripped she is and how like everything's not going to start when you're younger. You can always change, but trust me, it takes more commitment and dedication as you get older. That's fact.
For me, it's like growth mindset
Yeah,
versus fixed
true.
mindset, which is why I like to see people in all 4 seasons of life. What's 4 seasons like? A year, like dating them for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Little Ernest, if someone really wants to change, they will try no matter what age they are. Some people are denied. Exactly, like I mentioned earlier, I prefaced this live. You have to know there's a problem to get help. You have to accept there's a problem to get help. And a lot of us, if we're living in denial or we don't want to acknowledge that, something is wrong, that makes seeking care much harder. Yet, if you're 100% content with him as is, then that's a good sign. Yes, and little Ernest, for sure, you are spot on, and you can't change or fix people, but people still try. 30s is the age when people start to lose respect for you. That's why so many older people work from home or go to school online because some people can't show their face in society without being judged. Oh gosh. So are you saying this is the age when people try to kind of like stay away from people? Like the older you get, you think people like
I can kind of see that because especially if you have nasty habits or nasty behavior, it's like, and I think that's even translates why getting older, if some people struggle with making friends, right? Is I even into relations because I'm telling you, you're older, you have to definitely put in more effort, and it's like you to be a friend to an extent, you kind of have to be accommodating. Like you can't, you know what I mean? You have to kind of be understanding. People are coming from different walks of life. People have different backgrounds. You have to be willing to maybe learn about somebody. Oh, how did you grow up? Why do you feel the way you feel? Oh, I grew up like this, and I feel like it's a lot. So some people just like F it. Like I don't even have the energy because like they just used to doing things their way.
I just want to state to themselves. Mia asks, how do y'all not be judgmental or expect someone to be where you are in life mentally, especially if they the same age or older? How do y'all not be judgmental or expect someone to be where you are in life mentally, especially if they're the same age or
I
older?
think, like I mentioned before, like we mentioned, like us being Nigerian American. Excuse me. Let's say in an intimate relation, right? A lot of the guys that try to talk to me are Nigerian, right? I mentioned a lot of them were not born here, so I feel like I'm giving as a context because I understand that culture is the lens in which people see the world. So a
Hmm.
lot of times you may not really get it and you may not really understand certain things, but I like to look at how was this person raised? Like, you know what I mean? Like why do they think the way they think? Like try and be understanding, not to say giving them excuses, right? Because you could be raised
A bad habit of mixing up being compassionate and empathetic with giving excuses.
right. Like there's a difference. I could say I understand this, that, and that, but at the same time, this such is not acceptable because people also learn. You come from another place and you were doing something like this, and you came to America. You learned the work system. You learn how to make money here. So you can't tell me you can't learn how to be in a relationship. You can't tell me you can't learn how to unlearn bad habits. No, you can't just pick and choose. But at the same time, like we said, if if someone never really calls something out to you or something's not really a you don't really some people really don't know.
Are you
Like,
sure they don't know?
or they don't know how bad it is. They may know there's a problem, or they may know like something's wrong, but they don't know. Like an example, when I was in graduate school, I was applying like one of my like directors or something. I was applying for like some scholarship or something. So I gave him my resume and he helped me do letter of recommendation. And he called me and he's like, "Because I need to see you. Come into my office, right?" So I thought like, yo, what's going on? What something happened? He called me in the office. He's like, "Nguzin, you're a very smart girl. You're very brilliant, but your resume sucks." He took like literally. He told me straight, and he wasn't no. He was. I don't want to start anything, but he told me straight. And guys, your resume is not good. Go to the resume. We have this great guy in this school. He fixes resumes. Go to him. Fix this resume.
But did you think your resume was popping or something?
I didn't think it was bad. That's what I'm saying. I didn't think it was pop, but I think it was bad. So let me give you an example. So I at first I was like a little offended, like, damn, like, you know what I mean? So I go and I fix my resume. I started applying for part-time jobs in graduate school. but as I went and made that appointment, fixed that resume, started submitting it. The way I was getting calls, this
Mm.
is the same resume I was using, applying years, getting not really getting the results I want. When I fixed that resume, I was denying jobs. Like I'm telling you. So just to give examples, like sometimes that's not in this society it's hard because I said we're in a very people are very a little too sensitive. That's me personally. But sometimes it takes someone to be honest with you, brutally honest with you, and you to accept that and go and get that help. Because at the end of the day, it's benefiting you. I'm the one that benefited from getting fixing my resume. It wasn't him. But if he felt like, oh, I'm not going to tell her this, or I'm afraid I'm going to hurt her feelings, I would have went around thinking, I'm okay, and I would have had a different trajectory. So I'm trying to translate that same concept in that you can tell you don't have to necessarily judge people or be mean about it, but I also think that people have to also be accepting of that. That's the problem as well.
I
It's like
see it
is
too.
how you say it right. Like you have to also be, kind or whatever and try and say things the best you can. But then you also need people who are receptive to that. You need people who are going to take that, not just be in their feelings, get offended, be like, yo, like maybe what they're saying is true. Maybe I should see someone. Maybe I should, get this help. Maybe something may be wrong, but and not be all like, so it goes both ways. But I think that you can't really control at the end of the day how someone is going to perceive. If you feel like you're being as neutral and as basic as possible, you can't really control how someone's going to respond to you. At the end of the day, that's a part of the boundaries, right? Henry Cloud. That boundaries are for you, is not for the other person. So if you're so afraid of offending other people, or you're so afraid of not saying certain things, you're gonna live life in a lot of gray area. Like at the end of the day, you have to do the best, be nice, be whatever. But it's like how they take it is a them problem. It's not a you problem.
Mm.
If this is someone you truly care about and you really want them to get that help.
Okay, Miss Merman said like four seasons when they are up, down, successful, failing, happy, sad. Okay, I thought you meant like the four seasons of whether anybody can put up a front when things are going well, but as you observe how people handle life, you can confirm compatibility, whether it's friendship or romantic relationships. That's true. I believe the older you get, the less patience you got for people BS. Either go get help or leave me alone in
And it's
peace.
bad, Mia, because I even read the Bible verse of the day today talked about patience, and I was after today what I did, I realized I didn't exercise patience,
You
and I'm
don't.
telling you, I know, especially in dating, I don't have patience. I won't even sit here and lie. Like I don't, especially with older people who I feel like should know what they need to know, who are not kids. But it's like I do think that there is a fine line with that because if you if we go through life with that mindset, like, oh, you need to go get help or leave me alone. It's like there's a lot of people who are in between, right? It's like we can't be so at the point I'm trying to make is that we can't be so quick to just give up on people we care
Yeah, let
about.
me give you an example, right? I have an older cousin. Um, she had kids later in life, right? Her like in 40s. And she gave me, she was, constantly advising us because she's like, I don't want you guys to like make the same like mistakes that I made. I want y'all to learn from me. And one thing I will never forget, Shori tells me, she says, Nana, when I was you guys' age, anytime I was with a guy, he'd do something I don't like, I leave him. Anytime he do a little something I don't like, I leave him. I left him. I left him. And she said, I started getting older and I realized, wow, all these guys have problems. Am I just going to keep leaving?
Tell me about it.
And she said when she looks back to like her late 20s, early 30s, one of her biggest regrets is that she felt like she wasn't patient.
I'm telling you, and trust me, you
Patience, because of course, men, sometimes they act and like sometimes it trips me up, right? Because I talk to my therapist about this, and I'm like, nah, he know what he doing. He acting dumb. He acting slow. My
listen to the
therapist,
video I told you. You have to tell
yeah,
people.
Nana, did you have a conversation? She said, no, he's 30 something. I don't converse with men that shit. No, we're not doing that. So she brings out like she really helps me like stay grounded because I feel where you're coming from because I'm just at a point I'm just like, wait, do I have to really discuss this with someone? Do I have to discuss this with a man in his late 30s, almost 40? Like I feel like there's certain things that once I open my mouth and say, I feel embarrassed.
You can't expect people to be mind readers.
And that's what she's like.
Know what the people are not raised like you. Me and you could be in the same room. We see something, we reacting the same, or we're viewing it the same because what upbringing, because of relatability. You going into the real world with people you were not born with these people. You didn't grow up with these people.
Because there's common things I just feel as if at a certain age
That's
you can Google it. These men can even Google it right now. I may not be. Sometimes There's topics that come and they twist my brain. You know, like I go on Google. How does this? How is this? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, there's just some things I just feel as if like, is this guy being serious or he trying to play me?
Yeah, no, trust me. I didn't have experience. I know. Trust me. I know what you're saying.
It's real, but just that story just to let you know, Mia, that I understand where you're coming from, but sometimes we do have to extend some grace. That's it. Mia, everyone doesn't have the grace to have the wisdom that some of us do. I like to think having empathy is key. Yeah, empathy is my new favorite word. Most people are just doing their best on what they know or feel safe doing.
I'm telling you, the same way people judge people that eat a certain type of way or do certain stuff. Like people, not everyone's at the same level that you are. Not everyone sees the world the same. We have to just try and be a little bit more understanding.
Eunice says it's a lot of positive influence, such as doctors, judges, firefighters, police officers, pastors, and celebrities who go to therapy as well, to let them know mental health therapy is a good thing. Exactly. So the more people hear about it, see people they look up to doing it, then they feel like, oh, that doesn't make me weak.
Right.
Too extra vulnerable. That doesn't make me so naked. You know what I mean? Because I'm going, oh, he does it, she does it. But I think also too, even a shush thing, because sometimes people are like, I could have come up here and be like, well, I don't know much about therapy. You can understand, mind you, like I've gone to how many therapists because
I went to therapy in almost 10 years.
yeah, because because a lot of us sometimes we feel like people are gonna judge us and make us look weak. No, I'm not going to therapy because I want to jump off of a bridge or anything like that. Like that's when it gets too far.
It shouldn't get that far.
Right. That's what we're trying to prevent. You don't need to wait until things get that bad for you to seek help. That's what we're basically just trying to say. Mia said, Miss Mermaid, I understand empathy, but at a certain age, take that toxicity somewhere. Yo, Mia's not have. See, Mia, maybe you need to go for the men under 6 foot. Because if you give yourself more options, maybe you have less toxicity.
Those tall men, huh?
They have a lot of girls to choose from. They're high in demand. I'm just telling you, Mia, you only 5'7". Maybe give 5'9" a chance. Maybe give 5'8" a chance. You might see some different results. I'm not saying short men are perfect, right? They still lie and cheat and do everything else tall men do. Right. But you're just gonna have more options.
Right.
Take that toxicity somewhere else, or take it to someone that's willing to deal with it. Evie said your auntie is very wise. Yeah, because she be having to check us. Like, I know you girls don't want us, and we're gonna have a next couple of, we're going to talk about setting standards versus reality. We're going to talk about that because I think that our generation has really conflated the two, right? We think that the buzzword, we talk about buzzword, settling, feminism.
I watched a video on today, and the girls, everyone settles. I know people don't like to hear that because settling has gotten such a bad rap. Like, settling is such a negative thing in this day and age.
Whatever we want to call it. Let's say we call it that I'm settling, right? Because some people say, like, if I want a man that's 6'5" and I get one that's 5'11", I settled. I don't believe that because the height doesn't determine the type of man he is. But let's say you want to call it settling. Let me settle at 31, then at 51. That's just the way I look at it because there's no guarantee. No, I can't see the future. There's no guarantee that me waiting till 60, I'm a very short man. I'm still not going to quote unquote settle. That's the way I look at it. But that doesn't mean you don't have standards.
Right. I don't think you should never settle on your standards.
Right. And I think that's where like the messaging gets confusing because it's almost like I understand, especially women of color being upset, be like, are y'all telling us not to have standards?
Yeah, we should be willing to be with someone who paid just
the light bill. Right. Just pay the light bill. You get understand? Is that what you guys are telling me? That I just need a man to pay the light bill? No. We are not dealing with men who can only pay a light bill. That's wild. If you only pay a light bill, you should be like in school.
You should have a full-time job. You shouldn't be dating. You should just be focused. Like I said, I'm very big on personal development. That's my area. I love personal development. I breathe that. Like that's what I'm into. A lot of this day and age, people are too focused on relationship. Sometimes I understand people, you go online, it's all people want to talk about. Like, is there anything else to talk about? Yes. With social media, everything is man, woman, relationship. Men are this, women are this. Women hate women because of this, hate men because of that. And trust me, it's catchy. We talk about it. It's fun. We all love love. It's an interesting topic. But I think without that being said, if we want better people to be dating, we need to be emphasizing this personal development, which is a part of it is that can be going to therapy. It can be doing the work. It can be, healing that unresolved childhood trauma, thinking about, things you went through, things you've experienced, how it's impacted you, being a better listener, being a better sibling, being a better friend, being a better, colleague, just being a better person, and all those things. I feel like when you focus on personal development, it starts translating in all areas of your life. It's just not in one. But it's a lot. It's a lot. Let me see. I agree with you, Mia Chica. A person under 18, I will give you multiple chances, but 30 and up, two chances, that's max. Due to someone may make mistakes. BP D Town, what's up? H Town, hey, and Charlotte need to visit Charlotte. Maybe find someone's. What D Town? D Town is where?
You in Dallas? I heard Dallas is where it's at.
D Town. You mean Detroit or Dallas? Detroit, Michigan, or Dallas? Let us know which one. One strike, shame on me. Two strikes, shame on you. Three strikes, deuces. So you talk. Okay, so Mia, you have to specify. Are you talking specifically about intimate or just people, right? Because what I've learned too is that even in friendships, right? That's a big topic right now. People are really talking about friendships, and talk about getting older. It's not. It could be a little challenge in making friends, right? But I've learned in life, you also have to give friends grace, right? Because, like we said, people are going through stuff. I say it all the time. I'm not. It's
I
like
talked to the friend earlier. She still hasn't replied me. Like, what am I gonna do?
right.
Like,
I'm not giving people excuses. You know what I mean? And there are some people who are just being weird and funny, and eventually you're gonna cut those people off. That's fine. It's friendship is not by force. It's a mutual thing. But what I've learned getting older is that people have their own stuff going on, and not even if you feel like you and someone may be close, they may not feel comfortable sharing certain things with you. It doesn't mean they don't trust you. It doesn't mean that they think you're a bad person. But like there's certain things, even me personally, I just wouldn't share with people. It doesn't mean that I don't trust those people, but like it's my personal business. So Mia, that's what I'm asking. Are you saying this specifically to if when you're trying to get to know someone like a partner, or you're just saying in general that's what you go by?
Mia, this is a really good question. I was thinking about this earlier, ironically. How do y'all know if y'all too impatient versus your boundaries being so extreme based on past mistakes you made when you was younger and dating? This is really good because I get where you're coming from, right? Because we just talk about setting standards, right? And usually we set standards based on mistakes we made in the past, like and things that we overlooked, red flag. And now, then sometimes I notice as women, we take it to the extreme, right? Because it's like we let so much slide in the
Did
past,
I say that in our last live 2 weeks ago about
and
why?
now that like we make these almost like unrealistic, almost like these.
For it, because we feel so slighted from the things we
Yes,
accepted. We feel so bad about the nonsense we took from someone we shouldn't have taken it. So it's like the next person has to suffer. So they have to like you're like a
jump through hoops and
yeah,
like
like you're very hard because it's like, and I trust me, I understand why it's easy to get in that direction. But like we say, you have to understand that you can't make someone pay for someone else's mistakes. And then you could look at the bigger lessons and you could translate that, going forward. But at the same time, like that's a question you have to ask yourself. Is this expectation that I really expect to be met? Or am I just putting all this out there because of what I've gone through? And like, I'm just trying to avoid myself from maybe getting hurt or from maybe getting played or experiencing something like this again.
and what I could say, Mia, quickly is that I think that maybe you just not meeting anyone you really like. Because what I've noticed from my experience is that when you meet someone you really like compared to usual, most like, and it's kind of bad, you let way more slide. You get extend way more grace. You're more empathetic. You're like, you just are because you really like the person, you're able to be like, oh, he did this, but okay, I'll see, and he said sorry, I'll forgive him because I really, you know what I mean? So I feel like, so I at least I noticed before when I was viewing myself as being impatient and first off, I was like emotionally unavailable. And then second off, I also wasn't meeting people I really like. So it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm done. You made my mistake. Okay, I'm never answering your call again. Or you did this, I'm done because I really didn't like these people. And also, I was emotionally unavailable. So, mental health counselors help to create a non biased, safe place so that the individuals can open up their true concerns. In return, the counselors give them tools to work through situations confidently. Yep, yep, yep. I live in Dallas, y'all. People who live in Texas know D-Town is Dallas. I do feel left out that no other men are in here. LOL. No, little Ernez is here. He be holding it down.
A few be here, they don't be talking though. That's the thing. They just be watching.
But I study women, so I like to be ahead of the game. Dallas is segregated. Segregated.
Yes. Yes, I agree with that for sure. Dallas is, and you talk about that. Dallas got a lot of women. What you saying? Were you
I
saying you
mean,
want
Dallas is segregated, like racially.
the social scene? That's what I'm assuming you're referring to. If you're saying that, I agree 1,000%. From what I've seen, with the 3, 4 times I've been there, if you're referring to socially, it's segregated.
Mia, why as females we got to give a guy multiple chances, but a female they get cut off for the smallest thing. I don't know what men you talking to, but men I know don't really cut off females. I feel like we always have to do the
They
cutting.
cut you off, you crazy. Like real crazy. I'm telling you, every guy from my past, even these crazy exes, if I text, I almost guarantee they'll respond. If I text them right now, they will respond. I usually feel like it's women the one that are cutting the men off. What you could say is women cut other women off quicker than they will cut off some of these men that don't even treat them right. That's another conversation we can have another day. But I don't know. From my perspective, I don't feel like men cut women off for the smallest thing. Unless you're saying like if you're just meeting them and maybe they're finding out stuff about you or they just don't really like you.
Or they just ghosting you.
Yeah, I think that's different. But like just to cut you off because of like a small, nah, I don't have that experience. But elaborate on what you're speaking of.
Wow, I can't believe it's almost an hour. We're gonna wrap this up soon. I know this was kind of heavy, a little serious, but we just decided to talk about it because it is an important topic, and I really, really think it's something that our community really, really needs to work on. And I think there are some things that we can do to help bring about change. But
I
the
think you mentioned that the big thing too. I think also is especially as you're older, you know yourself more.
Mhm.
Is to I guess recognize signs and maybe feel like you're going down a path you don't want to be going down. But I feel like sometimes in life you get so busy going through the motions, you work, oh, I'm working out, I'm cooking, I'm doing this, I'm doing, I'll have to watch this show that if you're not really mindful of how you're feeling or checking in with yourself, it's easy you can find yourself going down a path that you're not even really realizing you are. So I think it's also important just to be mindful and check in with yourself and be real about how you're feeling and like we said, check up on other people. If there's someone that you usually hear from, you haven't heard from them, maybe you have an idea that they may be going through something. It's always important.
Mia said men. Evie said Mia, men have standards, even the useless ones, so they will put themselves first either way.
Yo, now, do you watch that you watch that live I sent on yesterday Monday about the standards?
Hmm.
YouTube, I'm telling you, she says all the time, men have standards. Men have standards. And I don't think that issue that women that say don't have standards. I think it's different in having the standard and actually living up to it. I feel
Hmm.
like a lot of women, when they talk, it sounds very nice. They'll say they'll even have a paragraph. They'll give you a soliloquy. They'll say this, that, that. He has to do this. I don't accept this. I don't accept that. But we mentioned once they like the guy and once they get into it, they start accepting a lot of things that they know they shouldn't be accepting. They start tolerating a lot of things they know they shouldn't be tolerating. So it's more than just setting standards by being true to your standards.
But I think it's easier for men to be true because they're not as emotional, and also men just have more better viable options. So I feel as if when a woman
VP, respond to that because I'm telling you, man, the guys I meet, my guy friends, they will tell you the way they would tell
and
you.
men have more and higher quality options. So I feel like they view us as more disposable, right? Because they know they can drop you, get another pretty nice girl. They can drop that girl, get another one that's even more educated, drop the one, get another one who's even nicer and cuter. So I feel like it's easy for them to like hold on to their standards and what they really want versus a woman, especially she out here in the streets and like maybe she has like that scarcity mindset, so she feel like, oh, if I leave him, when will I meet someone else? If he drops me, when will I get married? Oh, if I let him go, when will I start having children? We have to start thinking, we have the biological clock, all these things that start coming into our mind, but men don't have to think about those things.
I'm telling you, BP he's Lil Ernest, the men in this group, the chat. I used to think that way 1,000% of them, but I'm telling you, especially when you're meeting men of a certain caliber and they're looking for girls of a certain caliber, I think the reason why we think that men have more viable options because we're judging women just based on appearance. If we're talking about just looks and stuff like that, of course. Like I'm in Houston. I'm in a city where the women are pretty. Okay, if you go out, we outside this weekend. You go out, you see women be like, wow.
That's what my friend said about Dallas. She said Dallas has so many beautiful women.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling BP. He said he works too much. That's the next thing. He said, yeah, Dallas is socially segregated. You have to get out a lot, and I work a lot, but in my field, I only meet a lot of white rich people. I'm telling you, you go out, you'll be like, wow, wow. But the guys, the way they'll complain about women in this Houston,
because they keep going for the same type of women.
okay, the same way they'll say we going for the same 20%. Some of them are going for that same 20% as well. But
yes, I'm a female. For me, I give a guy more chances than a female.
see, you better the problem.
Mia, the way you talking. She said, "What are some things y'all think y'all need to improve on regarding your mental health or just in general?" I think definitely.
For me, I can say straight up is sleep. I feel like because like when I'm not sleeping properly or like when I'm struggling with my insomnia sometimes during the month, it really just affects my mood. It affects my productivity. Like I just don't feel like myself. So I feel like once I get that settled and really like I'm working on that, once I really get that sleep, put in and really adhere to it. My issue is I have sleep anxiety. I say this all the time, talk to Nana. To go to bed like by even before 11, like I'll be up.
Do you have children that you have to wake
up? I just feel like I just can't go to bed. It's too early. Like it's just something I've put in my mind. Like how could I be in bed at 10 o'clock?
Because you're young, this way you should be doing it.
I'm tired. That's when I'll have that rush of, that melatonin. What's that rush of melatonin? I'll be so like 10, 15. I'm like yawning. Then I'll push past that. And then I can't sleep at 11 something.
Oh, are you up doing important things? Are you doing
really? I'll be honest, but I just feel as if, and I think also because I struggle with insomnia, I feel like if I go to bed and I don't go to fall asleep, I'm thinking about the time I'll be wasting in bed.
Yes, so just give it like a week and just do it. You have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose. You don't have a child who's not going to make it to school in the morning because you overslept. Like, I know how to sleep early. Okay, I can sleep at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock these days.
I'll be tired, but I just feel like, no, it's too early. Wait, let me wait.
Well, for me, I think what I really had to improve, and the therapy helped me realize this, is that number one, I had to be more. It's easy for me to like be empathetic for other people and show compassion to the people, but it was very hard to do it to myself. Like I was like setting unrealistic expectations on myself, and I realized that made it hard for me to deal with certain situations. I had to really learn self-compassion. Really, really, really learn self-compassion. Realize that as popping as I am, as cute, as nice, as amazing, everything, I'm a human. I'm going to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. Even when I'm 70, I'm going to make mistakes.
I live life trying to avoid mistakes also.
But my only prayer will be the older I get, I make less avoidable mistakes. Right, but I would never stop making mistakes. So that was what I really, really had to learn. Evie said, Ngozi, men move through life like there's nothing to lose when it comes to women because at first it's all about the visual. They get to know you after, so there's no emotional input in the beginning, only ego.
Evie be breaking it out, but the point you're making, Evie, is that yes, they will move like there's nothing to lose, but those same men will hit to a certain age and ask them, oh, why haven't you settled down? And they'll give you that excuse of, oh, these women are this and that, I haven't found no one, because they're just looking at the visual. And after a while, the visual, yeah, it's nice and it's appealing and you can sleep with it and it's cool, but it's like you want more. So I understand what you're saying.
Yes. That there's no women with the visual who are good quality women? Is that what we're
talking about? I'm not saying that there's not women. There's a lot that are in this chat. I'm not saying that they're not, but I'm saying that I think that a lot of our brothers are not really good with vetting. They'll talk about women not vetting properly, but I feel like a lot of BP said in one of these lives a couple of weeks ago about how, yeah, when we talked about men wanting the Instagram baddies or liking those type of women, he said, yeah, that was in the past, but at a certain age you grow up and realize there's more to life. I would have to send you this, I'm always watching content. Any of y'all watch Sadia Psychology? She's so good. She's London based. She lives in Dubai. She just blew up. She's really
another YouTuber.
Yeah, she's really big, but she's
watching YouTube and go to sleep at night.
She goes in. I don't watch her at night. She goes in. She made a video about how to spot a high value woman. She was on a podcast for 20 something minutes, and she said a lot of men don't want to accept the fact that they reward bad behavior, quote unquote. They reward the women who go and post online naked. They reward the women who are doing the things that they claim they don't want. And the women who are doing the things they claim they want, they're not being rewarded. So we're in a generation where a lot of women are going to that side because they see that that's where the reward is at. So I'm bringing this in because
good girl know they pay.
They pay, like Barbrisky said, good girl know they pay. So I'm saying that's why I'm bringing this up with Evie's points that yes, a lot of men, they are stuck on the visual and they do reward the visual. That's the reality. That's why women put so much time into appearance and procedures and all this money into looks and all that stuff. Not to say we're not doing it for ourselves, but we can't deny that part of it is for the male gaze.
I think I'm just in the wrong city. That's just what it is. Look at your friends who come from different nationalities and cultures, white, Latin, Asian. Most are happily married with kids in the house. How about as a man, little Ernest? What would you say about that? Would you say that it's both ways? It's not,
It's
yeah.
for gender in it, but
Yeah.
just saying,
Little Ernest, Mia, so are black men or women being too picky? And Evie says, the older men are lashing out at women because they aren't validated anymore. That midlife crisis is crazy. Okay, y'all, next week is gonna be juicy. Don't worry, we're gonna make up for the serious topic next week. Actually, it's gonna be live from
in Texas. Okay, so we're thinking about we're trying to go live Sunday, but we could go live Saturday.
Saturday's better.
I think Saturday's gonna be better. I think Sunday is gonna be with you leaving later. I think it's gonna be a lot. So if we
Yeah,
go,
I want to go to Chapman and Kirby. I want to brunch on Sunday.
you better change our flight. Yeah, Nana
No,
is
my flight is late in the evening.
what time? 4 is not late.
It's not 4. My flight's like at 7 or 8.
Nana is in Houston this weekend. We turning up Houston, Texas this weekend. So we will be going live straight from Houston. Let us know what you want us to talk about. We thought about just doing like a catch up, something fun. I don't think about going to TikTok and reacting to them. We have a lot of ideas, but if you have anything specific, comment.
The flight is 6:30 on Sunday.
But
So we can't do brunch.
We could do brunch, but Chapman get lit like. I mean, I went there at 2 before, but I'm saying it wasn't. I guess
lit. I want to go somewhere lit. I want to go somewhere lit. Because this weekend is when I'm going to make my final declaration about Houston. It's going to be my 10th time going. I still don't like Houston. For all the Houston people in the chat, it's too rowdy and it's kind of, I don't like it. I don't really care for it. But this weekend, I'm going there energized. And Ngozi needs to take me to all the amazing places that she claimed. I want to go to Bissau.
I'm sorry, my baby.
I want to go to where's the other place I want to go to?
By the time you leave, you're not gonna renew your lease. You're gonna move here in November. By the time you're done,
I want to go to Bissau and Chapman and Kirby. Those are the 2 places I want to go.
Chapman gets lit a little later, but okay, we'll see. I have to finalize this itinerary. I'm working on that this week, but we also be in Houston lit live and direct, so we're gonna go live. So let us know if you have anything you want to talk about, and we'll try.
Okay, we're between Saturday afternoon or Sunday. I guess Saturday. We can do Saturday afternoon. You think Saturday's better? Literally said men too. It goes both ways. Evie said, Mia said, how often do y'all travel to see each other? We see each other probably like monthly. Justina said, little Ernest is forgetting that men in those other cultures prioritize marriage and family. End of the day, it's the men that hold the power.
Men are the ones that hold the marriage and relationship. It's them. So we have to look at why are the men not prioritizing it more and more.
Evie said, Nana, please, not Bissau. I want to go wherever. Okay, we'll talk about this off the live, but I want to, because in Ngozi, when I come there, we always sleep. There's always some story.
Nana comes late at night. She doesn't want to go out. When Nana leaves Charlotte, she's moody. She loves Charlotte. She's Charlotte for life. When she leaves Charlotte, she don't want to go anywhere. So tell her to come here and act proper.
I don't live these days in Charlotte either, so that's not relevant. Mia said, Justina, you are right. It seemed that black man will have a baby by a side chick first before giving her his last name. What time will y'all be live? So I don't know, because it's Saturday. It's a Saturday afternoon.
It's either we do it like 2, 3, 3-ish.
Saturday afternoon for work.
Yeah, it's hard getting a time. I know Saturday people are busy. People are doing lawn. People are doing errands. You could just play it while you're doing your errands and you're at home. It's getting a little colder. I don't know.
Saturday when you came to Charlotte, that was pretty good.
Yeah, like Sundays just is gonna be. I don't want to do Sunday. It's gonna be sometime Saturday. We'll have that scheduled by Friday, so you guys can see. Just make sure you try and join. If not, you watch the replay. But we will be together going live, and that should be fun. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and hopefully.
Just gonna say y'all bugging for a Saturday. I personally think Sunday is better, but then Sunday will still be in the afternoon. So like, what's kind of the difference, right? Because they're both weekends. Like,
it's gonna be at 8, 7, 8
of the day.
You're trying to be lit on Sunday. That's not gonna happen. That can't happen. But yeah. So regardless if you can't join, just watch it live. We'll figure it out. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys soon. Bye. Bye.